Imagine a demon appears tonight, not in a dream, in your room, in your darkest, most honest moment, when the performance of the day has ended and only the actual state of your life remains. The demon asks you one question. What if you had to live this exact life again, every moment of it, infinitely, not a better version, not with corrections, this version, the job you go to, the habits you run, the decisions you made this week, the person you are becoming, all of it, repeated forever. The question in each and every thing, do you desire this once more and innumerable times more, would lie upon your actions as the greatest weight. Nietzsche called this the greatest weight, not a metaphor, a diagnostic instrument, and he designed it to be applied not once as a philosophical exercise, but daily to every decision, every hour, every version of yourself you are currently constructing. Most people hear this idea and move on. This video is the application. Eternal recurrence is not a cosmological claim. Nietzsche was not arguing that your life literally repeats. He was designing a psychological test, the most demanding one available, to measure the quality of how you are living right now. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence is offered as an existential stress test to awaken individuals to reevaluate their lives. It is the heaviest weight imaginable, designed not to crush, but to clarify. The test works because it removes the psychological escape route that most people use to tolerate a life they have not fully committed to. That escape route is the future, the better version of yourself that is coming, the improvements you are planning, the life you will be living once circumstances change, once you are ready, once the current chapter ends. The eternal recurrence closes that exit. If this version of your life repeats forever, the planning and the postponing and the waiting also repeat forever. You cannot spend eternity preparing. At some point, the preparation is the life. Here is where the test becomes specific. Most people apply it once to their entire life, the big picture, the grand direction, and conclude that they are broadly on the correct path. The answer is comfortable. They move on. That is the wrong application. You could use morning commutes, waiting for someone to pick up a phone, routine natural breaks, to practice inhabiting the mindset of eternal return. The more often you ask yourself, if I had to relive this moment forever, how would I do it? The more habitual the consideration becomes. The test is a micro-instrument. Apply it to the hour, to the specific decision in front of you right now, to what you did with Tuesday morning, to the conversation you are avoiding, to the standard you are applying to your work today versus the standard you tell yourself you will apply when conditions are right. At that scale, the test stops being comfortable. But here is what nobody says when they explain eternal recurrence. The test does not produce guilt. That is the wrong response, and Nietzsche specifically designed it to produce something different. Amor Fati, the love of fate, implies acceptance of one's fate and a delight in all aspects of life. A life lived without regret, remorse, or guilt, but open to love of self, others, and the world as it is experienced. The test produces clarity. It shows you exactly where the gap is between the life you are living and the life you would be willing to live forever. That gap is not a moral indictment. It is a map. The man who uses it correctly does not feel shame at what the test reveals. He uses what the test reveals as the precise coordinates for where his will to power needs to be directed. Apply the test to 3 specific areas. Today, your work. Would you do this exact work, at this exact level of commitment, with this exact standard of output, forever? Not a romanticized version. The actual Tuesday version, the version where the work is hard and slow and frequently unrewarding, and you are doing it anyway at the level you know it deserves. If the answer is no, the test has identified exactly where the gap lives, not what you should do instead. Where the current execution is below the standard you would be willing to repeat. Nietzsche suggests that those who artistically fashion their own unique life wish for its eternal repetition. Eternal recurrence is the wish fulfillment of those who have created their own lives. The work that passes the test is not the work without difficulty. It is the work done at a level you would not need to apologize for if it repeated forever. Your daily habits. This is where the test is most ruthless. The morning routine, the first hour, the default behavior when no one is watching and nothing is demanded. The way you use the gaps between obligations. The eternal recurrence is an existential stress test. To pass it, you must cultivate Amor Fati, enthusiastically embracing everything that happens, including the suffering and the mistakes. Would you repeat your default daily behavior forever? Not the version of it you intend to implement, the version that actually runs. Most men fail this portion of the test completely, not because their habits are catastrophically wrong, because they are slightly below the threshold they would accept if the repetition were eternal, slightly less disciplined than they know they could be, slightly less focused, slightly more comfortable than they have earned. That slight gap, repeated forever, is the distance between the life you are living and the life the test demands. The companion doctrine is Amor Fati, love of fate. My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, but love it. These two concepts operate together. Eternal recurrence shows you the gap. Amor Fati is what you bring to the gap, not acceptance in the passive sense, not tolerance. The active decision to take what your life actually is, including its failures, its delays, its specific forms of difficulty, and build from that material rather than from the imagined material of a different life. To love your fate means to shut the door on the toxic ideals, the fantasy of a life that could have been, and to redirect that energy toward the actual life that exists and can be shaped. The man who combines these two doctrines has a daily instrument that most people never access, a question that cuts through every rationalization, a test that cannot be gamed because it demands nothing less than, would you live this exact life as you are actually living it forever? The protocol is simple, heavy, and daily. Each morning, before the day begins, ask the question about the day ahead. Not about your life in general, about today specifically. What will you do today that you would be willing to repeat forever? Each evening, ask it in reverse. What did you do today that you would not repeat, not to punish yourself, to identify exactly where the gap is, to make the gap visible before it becomes the life? The eternal recurrence challenges you to inch closer to Amor Fati. If you had to do this again and again, wouldn't you look harder for a way to live it at the level it deserves? That pressure is not a burden. It is the most clarifying force available to a human being. It does not tell you what to value. It shows you whether you are living at the level of what you already value. The demon's question is not a punishment. It is a standard. The only passing grade is a life you would choose again. Build toward that grade today, in the hours that are still available. If this hit differently than what you usually watch, subscribe. No motivation, no self-help. Nietzsche, every week.